Alright, guys, it's been a week. Let's go over Dune Part 2 spoiler form. This is a complete and spoiler based episode. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. I highly recommend it. Though there will be some changes from the book that you'll see and might find a little bit of warming. We're going to go over those here. But if you like the video, if you like what you see, check in the comments below and let's get to it. First off, the movie is so visually and awesomely spectacular to watch. The shots are as perfect as possible. I'm not going to go into that further. It's been done to death. It is a visually spectacular movie, and it follows up the greatness that was the first, or Dune Part 1, obviously. Biggest issues I have with the movie overall, I think, are just some of the changes in the book. Like Chani especially. She, in the book, is devoted to Paul. She is the link between Paul to the Fremen. She is the daughter of Liet Kynes in the book, who, if you've watched the first movie, know that they needlessly changed to a black woman for no reason, who she did a fine job in the first movie, but it's like you remove a big piece of the impact of the book. The big thing that really changed Paul to coming to the Fremen. Also, Chani is not a Fedaykin or Fedaykin. I believe it's Fedaykin, but you can let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. But she's not a death commando. She shouldn't be out there. She's there raising their son. I knew right away in the movie when there was no time skip. In the book, there's about a 2-year time skip. I knew when that wasn't the case that we were in trouble. We were in big trouble. As cool as it was for the movie to pick up basically right where the first one ended, it would have been better had there been that time skip, because then Chani and Paul would have their first little Leto, who, if you've read the book, we know dies. But instead, she's just like, we're not gonna fight, or we're gonna fight these colonizers. We're gonna fight. They're all lying to us. They're enslaving us. It's like, that's not Chani from the book. It's just not. And Zendaya just, ugh, she's so frustrating. She could be a really good actress, but it's just like, the role that they gave to her in this movie is just so frustrating. Chani is a great character in the book, a very motherly character. She's going to become Bene Gesserit of the Fremen, of course, a reverent mother. But we don't get that. She doesn't drink the water of life. That, of course, goes to Jessica, who does become a reverent mother for the Fremen, but Chani was destined for that role as well. But she just shirked that off, fought for the Fremen, became, or is a Fedaykin, apparently, even though that's not how it is in the book. It's just so frustrating. It doesn't ruin the movie per se. I mean, the movie's still spectacular, and I still highly recommend you watching it. But it's just one of those things that just like read the book and then you feel the same outrage that I did. It's just ridiculous. There's no reason for it. Of all of the reasons for them to go woke, this was the worst possible way they could have gone. It again shows how terrible Hollywood is. They just cannot get out of their own way at times. Still a good movie, but we'll go into some other things as well. Let's talk about some of the newer characters as well. Christopher Walken, he's a pretty good Emperor. He doesn't have as much role as I thought he might. He is a little bit of a more beefier role in the book and just kind of fades away towards the end. Princess Irulan, Florence Pugh, is a spitting image of what I thought Princess Irulan would look like. Kind of reminiscent of the Princess Irulan from the David Lynch Dune movie as well. She has a pretty good role. That's another thing with her and Chani. In the book, Chani was perfectly fine with Paul marrying Princess Irulan because she saw it as a political marriage. It was meant to bring the empire together and not as a sexual one. It was always going to be Paul and Chani in bed. Paul and Chani as the real link together. And that merely Irulan was just a reason to bring everybody together. Never any love or anything like that. We never got that in the book. But she's so upset about it. It's another thing at the end, like when Chani just looked at Princess Erewhon and Paul, and then she just walked away and is ready to go sandworm riding. It's just like another one of those things that's just didn't need to happen. Did not need to happen. You could just follow the book. You need to follow it perfectly, but there's some certain plot lines that should have been followed for Dune Part 2. And let's talk about the sandworm riding. It's awesome. It's as cool as you would have expected, and Stilgar tells Paul not to impress. Not to impress. He basically impresses without trying. He just shows his complete ability, all the ways of the Fremen, and showing he is the Kwisatz Haderach. He truly is. I mean, even without trying, at some point he just imbibes that role, and then he really imbibes the role of the prophet and the savior, especially when they go to the southern tribes of Arrakis, the more fanatical ones. He brings them all together, and they just bow, and he fully develops his voice and just silence. And he, when he talks to guys, Ellen Mohiam, the Reverend Mother that we've seen in the first movie, that put his hand in the box and everything. And let's talk about Austin Butler now. Austin Butler, what can I say? His role was fantastic. Again, another perfect choice to be Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. Basically, Feyd-Rautha is like a dark mirror image of Paul, showing the real nature versus nurture that we get in this book, showing that Paul is loved, cared for, and expected to succeed, but like we saw in the first movie, Leto told him, even if you don't become the head of House Atreides, you will succeed at being the only thing I ever wanted to be, my son, which is true. Very good father-son relationship, very good family relationship as well. And then you have Feyd-Rautha, who who we found out killed his mother, is totally psychotic. He's mad. He is batshit insane. The things that he does with the knife on his tongue, and the way he loves killing so much. He's a rabid beast, but he can be controlled. He has no conscience. He has no real thoughts of his own, really. That's what makes him easier to be controlled by the Bene Gesserit. And supposedly he planted the seed for a daughter in Lady Finring, who was played pretty well by Léa Seydoux, but he's very easily controllable, and as crazy as he is, as psychotic as he is, he really does well at combat. I mean, he's nuts, he's crazy, and it's just like you feel bad for him kind of, but then at the same time he's completely psycho. He destroys the Beast Raban, like it just makes Bautista his bitch, basically. I mean, it just completely destroys him, and just shows how he's a real what the Baron wanted in his son. Baron wanted Feyd-Rautha, and that's why he put all his eggs in the basket of Feyd-Rautha and expects him to succeed, which is another thing different than Paul. He expects him to succeed, and Feyd-Rautha has to succeed for himself out of fear, not love. There's no love there with the Harkonnens. I hate the Harkonnens. I think they are a very interesting family. They're very rich and wealthy, but they're evil. They're just evil. The Atreides aren't the best. They kind of give off a purely totalitarian, militaristic family vibe, but there's at least something there to root for a little bit, even though you're really not supposed to. Harkonnens, it's hard to root for them, and that's where this movie really succeeds with them. It shows them how evil, how terrible, how oppressive they are to the city of Arrakeen and the planet of Arrakis overall. It's their Dune, and the Atreides are going to have to rip the planet from their cold, dead fingers. And it all starts off with the battle towards the end when Paul finds the Atreides nuclear arsenal and drops a nuke on the shield wall, and it's just visually spectacular when it explodes. You just see Paul there standing, and then it's awesome. It's just an awesome time. And then the real fighting begins. You see Fremen riding in on sandworms, and it's just as cool as you might imagine. And then that final battle at the end between Feyd-Rautha and Paul feels a little shorter. I thought it could have gone on a little longer, but Paul just shows that he is Kwisatz Haderach. He shows that he is the better candidate to take over his family's memories and rule Arrakis and rule the Imperium. Now, we'll see if we ever get the Denis Villeneuve version of Messiah, which I hope we do. I think they can probably make Messiah into just one film. I don't think they need to split that up, hopefully. Then hopefully we can get the Children of Dune as well. If we get the Children of Dune at least with Denis Villeneuve behind the reins, I think I'd be satisfied with that. Not necessarily we need to go to God Emperor, though to be honest, it'd be cool to see all 6 movies under the Denis Villeneuve director style. But at the very least, we need to see Messiah. At the very least, just to see the potential end of Paul's story. If you haven't read any of those books, I would highly recommend reading the books as well. Continue to watch Dune. It is awesome. Even though I worry about the spinoff being woke, I really do. I worry about the Bene Gesserit TV show being a little woke. This movie, the wokeness doesn't ruin it for me, but it does leave a little bit of a black smudge mark on an otherwise perfect film. I mean, the movie is so well paced. There's no real slow down parts. It's action. It drives the plot forward. Lady Jessica is great. That's another thing I want to, before we end today, Aaliyah. I really wish we could have seen Aaliyah. We did see her in kind of like a mind palace sort of thing, but Aaliyah will be pretty awesome by Anya Taylor-Joy in Messiah. If we ever do get that, I can't wait to see that. But we never got to see the Baron get killed by Aaliyah, which, if you read the book, that's how it happens. I was waiting for that to happen, but since Aaliyah was never born in the second part, we knew it wasn't gonna happen. But hopefully she'll come around in Messiah, and she'll be awesome, and the story will be able to pick up where it should. If Messiah doesn't pick up with Paul and Chani having Leto and having Ghanima as well, I don't know what else to do. It's just like they're just making shit up and making the movie. Stop removing parts from the book that makes sense. I understand it's an adaptation. I understand some things need to be changed, but changing of Chani, the changing of Aaliyah being in there and killing the Baron, that's the kind of stuff. It just doesn't need to be changed. But otherwise, the movie's fantastic. Can't praise it enough. Although there are some issues that I have with it, it just had to be talked about. But let me know what you think down below. Have a great day, and God bless.